Hey everybody, this is KennedyHawk from the Marvel Champions Monthly Fan Podcast team. I have another deck play request by Scott. So this deck is a Voltron'd Captain America deck. So the Captain America leadership using some of the new cards from Ant-Man's pack. So he sent in this deck list. I'm going to try it out against Expert Crossbones with Weapons Master, Hydra Patrol, and a mess of things. And we'll see how it goes. So I've shuffled my deck, shuffled the villain deck, I have shuffled the experimental weapons. And when we flip this over, we're going to get an experimental weapon right away. So we get the Power Gauntlets. Now Scott said the goal of this deck is to never play Agent 13 and win. We'll see how that goes. Well, this is an awkward first turn. No allies in sight, so I'm probably going to pitch some of these upgrades. And I think I'm going to pitch Quinn Carrier. I'm actually going to pitch all of the upgrades and just look for allies, I think. Well, we got one. Good job, us. We also get to search for Cap's Shield. Plop that right into our hand and shuffle our deck. So, what are we going to do here? We get our cost reduction for allies. So I'm going to throw away a Heroic Strike, a Shield Block, and a Fearless Determination for Iron Man. Sounds good. We will... Do I really want to get rid of my shield this early? Probably not. We're going to throw away a Super Soldier Serum for Steve's apartment. We'll try to heal one and fail, but we still get to draw a card. And then we'll use that card to play Cap's Shield. Are we going to flip and deal with this stuff? I don't know. I think we will. So we'll flip. We'll attack for 2. I'm going to hold Iron Man off until I get more things on him. I don't want to burn his health yet. And then we'll try to get rid of some of these upgrades next turn. Alright, so we're drawing 5. There we go. We can get a Sky Cycle on him for free now. So, Crossbones is going to take his turn. He's going to get 1 threat. He is going to attack us. So if he attacks and damages us, we discard a card from our hands. He's got 2 attack. And when he attacks, we remove 1 ammo counter and take some damage. So we're going to take 2 indirect damage. That is indirect, right? I'm just going to take that on Cap. That does not count for triggering Power Gauntlets. So we're going to defend because we've got 3 defense. So he hits for 4, unfortunately. So we take 1 and we discard a card from our hand. Who do we not care about? We probably do care about Vision. So I'm going to get rid of one of these Inspireds. Next, what do we do? Get one of these cards. And it's a Hydra Sidearm. Excellent. Lots of horrible things to get rid of. Well, let's see how it goes. It is our go. We're going to play Inspired and Sky Cycle onto Iron Man for free. So he can now ready, and he's a 3/3. That seems really good. I think we might actually just get rid of one of these cards. I'm thinking about getting rid of the Power Gauntlets. And I think I'm going to let this pop and flip down. We'll heal 1 and draw a card, just so we know what's coming up. Okay. Yeah, that'll be that. Drawing 5 cards. So what we did here, he's going to gain 1 threat, and he's going to scheme for 2+ something. That 2+ something is really doesn't matter at all, because it was going to trigger the scheme either way, so that sounds great to me. He schemes for a bunch, but basically it goes to 3 and then progresses to the next scheme. Here he gets another weapon from the experimental weapons deck, and he starts with 1 threat, and it can go to 6. Alright, what are we going to do? We get one of these cards, these lovely cards, and it's a Hydra Bomber. We will take 2 damage. And that's that. So, how are we going to solve this problem here? We need to find some allies, and we already threw Vision away, which is really sad. First thing we're going to do is heal 1 and draw a card. We will put Power Gloves onto... Well, we don't have the Avengers trait, so we have to wait. We'll wait till we flip. We are going to flip without recovering, pretty sure. We're going to use Shield Toss and Honorary Avenger to play Super Soldier Serum. We'll throw Power Gloves out on that guy. I think we'll use Shield Block and this other Sky Cycle to get rid of something. It looks like we'll be getting rid of this Retaliate. And Iron Man's kind of crazy here, so he can attack for 3. And he'll attack Crossbones for 1, 2, 3. He takes the damage. He can then ready with the Sky Cycle, and after he attacks, he can deal damage to an enemy, so we'll hit this little guy for 1. He can attack for 3 again, and kill this little bomber, so that looks good to me. Yeah, that seems really good. We also got Cap's attack, so Cap will punch for 2. And we're not going to throw away this first aid. Actually, we can play the first aid this turn and heal Iron Man. So let's just keep him at full health and keep punching for 8 a turn. Sounds good. Draw 5. Pretty sweet deck. Alright, he's going to get a threat. He's going to attack us, and we will get rid of this stupid machine thing. And we get hit for 1. Let's go on Cap, obviously. He's got nothing about if he attacks us and does no damage, but we're still going to defend. So 3 defense against a 6 attack, and he has range, so he's going to ignore our Retaliate. We will take 1, 2, 3. And his bonus card is Crossbones Assault. So it's going to have 2 threat on it. It has an acceleration token icon, and when Crossbones activates against, or when defeated, Crossbones will activate against the player who defeated this scheme. So we basically want to kill Crossbones and ignore this, if at all possible. And that was the bad guy turn. Not so bad. Things are looking pretty sweet here right now, so let's keep it up. Let's use Fearless Determination to draw a card. Perfection. Iron Man is golden now. He should never need to do anything else. I think what we're going to do is Iron Man will swing for 1, 2, 3. And the Power Gauntlets will punch for 1, flipping him to the next phase. He's going to go up to 16. And we reveal the top card of the Experimental Weapons deck, and he gets an Exosuit. Oh no. At this point, I think Cap is going to spend 1, 2, 3 for Heroic Strike. We'll hit for 6 and a stun. Seems good. Seems really good. We can ready Iron Man with something here. Sky Cycle to ready Iron Man. He can swing for 4 again. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Puts him down to 6. And we can attack with Cap, ready, and attack again, hitting him down to 2. So Iron Man and Cap there almost finished him off. We've got to do 2 more damage. We're going to stay in hero form instead of flipping. So we're drawing 5 only. He gets 2 threat because of this acceleration thing. He's stunned. He doesn't attack me. We just have to deal with this. So give the villain a tough status card. That's not so bad. And bingo bango, it's our turn to go. Iron Man's got like 1,000,000 health, so he can attack for 3, clearing tough. Ping for 1. And we were told not to, but let's do it just because it's funny. We will play Agent 13, show remove 2 threat, and punch. Punch Crossbones dead. Boom. So Expert Crossbones, not a problem for this super sweet deck. I will lay the deck out here, and we can talk about it and see what you guys think. And we are back. What an amazing leadership deck. So leadership now has so many different deck types, it's kind of crazy. We've always had sort of the spam all the allies, block with them at low health deck. We've always had the get a bunch of Avengers out, use strength in numbers, and Avengers assemble to do some wombo combos decks. And this is a pretty cool deck that's all about building up all your upgrades onto 1 or 2 allies, keeping those allies around, and having them maximize their damage and thwarting potential. And Captain America, Scott made a perfect choice here. He is like the perfect choice to build in this deck. And let's look through Cap's kit a little bit and talk about why that is. So a lot of times when you're building these allies up, you're not going to want to use their health. I think in that game I played Iron Man round 1. I didn't want to use him right away for thwarting. Things like Fearless Determination in Cap's kit are really going to let Cap manage the threat while you're getting this ally combo built up. Another thing that's really important, a lot of people throw allies away when they have 1 health left. They just put them in front of attack to keep your hero alive. This deck wants to do the opposite. You want to use Shield Block to defend for your allies. You want to use Heroic Strike to stun the villain so those allies don't have to soak attacks. And you want to use Cap's Shield, which gets you to 3 defense to defend for those allies, because the allies are going to be the main damage dealers in this deck, as you saw with Iron Man. So pretty cool concept we have going here. Cap's obviously got lots of resource generation from Super Soldier Serum, his apartment, and his Alter Ego ability. We all know that that works really well with allies, but it's really cool to see a leadership deck that only has 4 allies in it. So like I said, this deck is all about getting one of these, or as many of these, like in Iron Man's case, all 4, upgrades onto Iron Man, or Ronin, or Vision, and let's talk a little bit about why. So Iron Man obviously reduces the cost of those upgrades by 1, so we got a ton of value by just throwing upgrades on him. We made him a 3/3, we made it so he could attack twice a turn, we made it so he did a ping damage when he attacks, and we gave him more hit points. You can get up to 5 hit points. Pretty crazy. Ronin, very similar thing. He gets +1/+1, but he has an upgrade on him, so Inspired now makes him +2/+2, so he's a 3/4. Pretty bonkers. All these other upgrades hit him the same way. And Vision's pretty cool, because you can get him up to 4 attack, so with Inspired you can get him up to 5 attack and do lots of shenanigans with readying Vision to deal as much damage as you can. So let's talk about the rest of the deck really quick. So we've got 3 copies of Inspiring Presence, 3 copies of each of these upgrades, 3 copies of First Aid. We've got 4 1-ofs here. We have 1 Quinn Carrier, 1 Avengers Assembled, 1 Honorary Avenger, and 1 Team Training. This is a solo deck, Scott says, so it totally makes sense. You definitely want Quinn Carrier over Helicarrier if it's a solo deck. And Team Training, you only need 1 of. Honorary Avenger, probably only need 1 of because solo. It's totally fine. Yeah, pretty cool deck. So you got lots of healing in the events that support these allies. As you can see, you haven't added a ton of events to your deck, which I really like. I like limiting how many events I throw into a deck, because if I throw too many events in, it's hard when I'm cycling through the deck. Luckily, in this case, we didn't even have to go through the deck more than once to beat Expert Crossbones, which is kind of crazy. Really like the concept of healing allies to full and keeping them alive, and that's one of the reasons I like some of these new Ant-Man cards. So Reinforced Suit is basically like a, I don't know, preemptive First Aid, right? I want to heal Iron Man when he gets down to 1 back to 3. Well, if I throw a suit on him, I've basically done that beforehand, which is amazing. Power Gloves, obviously also very, very strong. I really like the idea of doing this ping damage. It is after they attack or thwart, so like you saw there, Crossbones had Tough at one point. He had to soak the 3 damage from Iron Man, and then the ping damage got through, so it's not pinging before you deal the damage, but it's also cool because you can thwart and still get that damage in, which once you have your board set up, you can use these allies to thwart instead of Captain America. That's one of my favorite things about this deck. So Scott said this deck is solo. I think this deck actually performs really well in multiplayer. If you made this Quinn Carrier, a Helicarrier, and kept the rest of it pretty much the same, once you're up and running, you can replace the Justice player, you can replace the Aggression player, you can replace the Leadership player blocking for other players, or the Protection player. So, like, you've got very good potential to fit any role your team needs, which is exactly what you need from a leadership deck. So, if we were to tweak this deck a little bit and look at things we could change, I thought of 3 cards that could be pretty interesting to try in this deck. So the first is Giant Man. He is kind of expensive at 5 cost, so he would be your most expensive ally, but with Cap's reduction, you could hopefully get him out for 4. That'd be pretty good. So Giant Man, Raz, his text is, Giant Man gets +2 attack while he has 3 or more remaining hit points. Pretty cool. I really like that. 3 or more, so his first 2 attacks would be for 4 attack. What's really cool about that is, let's take Raz down here, and let's say we've inspired him, so now he's a 5 attack for those first 2 attacks. Now let's say we've given him a Reinforced Suit, so he's got 6 damage potential, or 6 damage threshold. Now those first 4 attacks are 5 damage, or those first 5 attacks if you throw Honorary Avenger on or Team Training. That's bonkers. Just having an ally that can swing for 5, I mean, we saw what happened when Iron Man could swing for 4, this is just 1 better. You still have ways to ready him with Inspiring Presence and keep yourself above that threshold. You also have ways to heal him with First Aid to keep that triggering. And I just like using new cards, so I thought he would be cool to try in here. Maybe over Vision, right? Vision cost 4, he can get up to a 4 attack. This guy cost 5, but you don't have to pay a Lightning Bolt round after round, so that could be a good swap out for Vision if somebody wanted to try running this deck. I know I'm going to be running it for a while, so you might see me try that variant on YouTube. Another card that I thought would be interesting is Teamwork. So both the events we have here are all about keeping your allies upright or keeping your allies healthy. Teamwork does sort of the same thing. So let's say I do have Giant Man in here and I've gotten him up to 5 attack, and I really don't want him to go below that 3 threshold. If I use Teamwork, I can swing with Cap and get to add Giant Man's attack or Giant Man's thwart to me. And since Cap has 2 activations per round, it's pretty safe relying on your hero being able to either attack or thwart each round. It's an often overlooked card that could fit really well into this build up some super mega ally deck. Inspired Ronin could add 3 thwart or 4 attack to Cap's ability. Seems really good. Like, you can thwart for 2 with Cap, discard a card, ready, hit for 7. Ronin now hasn't taken damage, and Cap hasn't taken damage, and you've gotten your maximum efficiency out. Could be a cool card to try. Don't know what I would cut for it, because I think both Inspiring Presence and First Aid are really important. First Aid keeps those allies healthy, and Inspiring Presence is really important for being able to double swing with an ally when you want, so that you can really get that burst out. You might drop your Avengers Assembled for that, or maybe your Avengers Assembled and your Honorary Avenger for 2 copies of Teamwork. Could be an interesting thing to try. The last card, and this is the card that I think I would really recommend including a couple copies of in this deck. So as Scott said, your goal, don't play Agent 13. You don't want to play Agent 13. She's not very good in this deck. She doesn't have the Avengers traits. She doesn't have any like bonuses for stats or anything like that. But these other 3 allies are all Avengers. So if you're going to stick with just these 3 allies, I mulliganed pretty hard in that first turn, and Iron Man was like the second to last card I drew. So I almost went through 12 cards in my deck without seeing Iron Man or an ally. That would be really bad. That would set you behind, because you don't want to sit in Alter Ego turn for too many turns. You want to flip quickly, but you really want to use that discount without having to flip back and forth. I think in that last game, I think we did flip back and forth once, but you could stay in hero form almost the whole time. But you need to get an ally in that opening hand. So if you don't, including a couple copies of Call for Aid might be just the answer you need. I know a lot of people think that Make the Call is just a better version of Call for Aid. I think in this deck, it's the exact case of where you would want to include a card like this. Even if it's just a 1 or 2 of, you could replace it for those same 2 cards. It just gives you a little bit more consistency. If you're going through 12 cards in your deck and you don't see one of these 3 Avengers, Call for Aid is going to make sure that that happens in that first round. It does kind of stink. It doesn't super synergize with his Alter Ego ability because it's a hero action, so you have to flip to hero form, use Call for Aid. You wouldn't get the discount until the next turn. But being able to get an ally out in that turn 1 consistently, I think is important enough that Call for Aid could really, really be useful. This also lets you, another example where Call for Aid could be kind of like a good play for you. I know a lot of people are afraid of decking out because you get an extra encounter card. I think if you're going to, in solo especially, if you're only going to deck out once, like deciding when that deck out is going to happen can be very important. Maybe you have a really good board state. Rhino or Claw has no minions out, so you're like, I can afford an extra treachery card. If you know all your allies are in your discard pile, this card basically just reshuffles your deck, right? Go through your whole deck, you don't find any allies, you shuffle everything back together. Draw an encounter card. So you can get those allies back into your hand, or back into your deck. The other way you could use it is, and this happened in this last game, to play Iron Man, I think I had to pitch 3 of those upgrades. So there's 12 upgrades in here, and I ended up getting all 4 on him eventually. But you can imagine a game where you've thrown too many upgrades into the discard, and you really need to cycle your deck faster to set up your Voltron'd ally. Call for Aid is going to accelerate that. Even if you've got 1 ally left, discarding a bunch of cards from your deck to get these closer to being shuffled back in could be just the key you need for getting Iron Man up to his ultimate status like we had in our playthrough against Crossbones. So ultimately, really, really cool deck. I think it's super finely tuned already, and here's 3 suggestions for ways you could tweak it. I'm not going to say they would be better, because this deck is pretty sweet as is, but they could be variants of it that could be really interesting and fun. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have deck lists you want me to test out against a villain or demo on YouTube, feel free to email them in to marvelchampionsmonthly@gmail.com, or send me a message on Discord or whatever, and I'll try to get that added to my queue. So, thanks for tuning in.